Okay, so we're going to work on making our first pluck sound, and this is a sound that you heard in the last video, the first one, called similar. So basically we're using two pluck sounds to create a new sound that sounds like one. So don't confuse this with the enhancement application of layering, which is just to fill in the gaps. This is more, again, the two sounds have equal weight, so it's more of a application of layering, but they are the same sound. They're both plucks. They have the same category, basically. If we were to use a pad and a pluck like we're going to do in the next video, that would be using two different sounds. So it's important that you make that distinction, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's just a cool way to think about things. So I'm just going to play this for you again so you have an idea of what we're creating. Very cool. I'm going to copy this MIDI clip over to a new MIDI track, and we'll just delete that. Now you can copy this in if you'd like to use the same progression as me. Otherwise, use your own and still follow along. So I'm going to start off by inserting a instance of Spire and opening up the Temple 1 Spire Essentials Volume 1 sound set. And I'm going to go down to Pluck Saw 8. So we have this. Oh, sorry about that. That's the wrong preset. Saw 8. Just going to make a few adjustments here. Sounds good to me. The reason I disabled the delay and reverb there is because I'm going to use the delay and reverb on the higher pluck. Okay, so now I'm going to group this and duplicate it to save time. Open up the Spire and pick another preset. This time I'm going to pick, let's see, the Prida pluck. So we have this. I'm going to pull the amount down a tad. That sounds pretty good to me. I don't think I need to do anything else. So now we've got this. And they don't sound too bad, but the deep pluck, if we rename this to deep, is a bit too overpowering compared to the sharper pluck. So we're going to pull the volume down on this. It's cool, and we're going to EQ this deep pluck here for starters, just to get rid of some of the high end. Notice that I'm using quite a soft low pass curve this time. In the last module when we were laying drums, if you noticed, I often used quite a sharp curve, quite a sharp low pass or high pass curve. You can sort of get away with these more soft curves when layering plucks and the likes, because, like I mentioned earlier, it's less likely that you're going to run into phase problems and frequency masking problems and so on. And it sounds a bit more natural doing it this way. It's sounding good to me. I'm going to EQ the sharp pluck as well. Again, just using that soft sort of curve on the low end there. And finally, what I want to do is add a little bit of compression over the whole layer, just to make it sound a little bit more controlled. That's pretty much it, but there's one more thing that you can do, and this is sort of a workflow tip, and it helps a lot when you're using layers like this to create one sound and you want to add automation. So at the moment, if I wanted to, say, have this whole pluck open up, have the filter cutoffs open up, I would have to go in and I would have to automate the individual parameters. But what you can do in Ableton, at least, is assign them to a macro. So I could click on this, open up this configure tab, click on the cutoff on our first pluck, and go OK, back, do the same on the sharp pluck. And so I've got these two controls down here, and then what I can do is map them. So I can map this to, say, macro 1, and I can map this to macro 1 as well. So now we've got both opening up at the same time. Now, sometimes when you do this, you may find that you want one to be a little bit more open than the other. For example, in this case, I feel like down here that my sharp pluck isn't open enough. So what you can do is go into this map section and set a minimum. So I might set a minimum of, say, if I play this at the same time, I might say I don't want it to go below that, and then it will adjust and adjust accordingly. So there you go. Adding macros, a great way to speed up your workflow, especially when working with automation. So that concludes our first pluck layer design, whatever you want to call it. In the next video, we're going to be looking at the pad pluck that I showed you in that first video about similar and different sounds. So I'll see you then.